Assalamu alaikum students, welcome to English class. Today we are going to talk about University Days summary, theme and about the author. So by the end of this lesson, you'll be able to summarize the topic in your own words. You'll be able to talk about the author and his work, and you'll be able to write down a theme of this essay, University Days. So here is a quick recap or summary of our essay, University Days. Numerous people, they trust that college is about being serious all of the time, and in the essay the writer talks about certain situations that happened to him at the Ohio State University to demonstrate that it can be humorous as well as serious, and he describes all the situations in a very funny and humorous way. He got a deferred pass and he reappeared after 1 year since he couldn't pass the biology test. Description of the professor is very funny. He was quite hopeful that this time his student would be able to see cells. This particular student, the writer himself, okay, James Thurber, the professor thinks that he would be able to pass the biology test this time. So he adjusted the microscope for him. He tried to control his temper, but he quivered just like Lionel Barrymore, a comedian of stage shows. So we are told about the situation of the professor. How did he behave? And all the efforts of his teacher proved to be futile, as Thurber James, he couldn't see anything except for blackness or the electrical opacity. And he drew those shapes on the paper instead of the plant cell. Then professor came to him with a hope to see his cell drawing. He was shocked to see what he had drawn. It means what he was expecting, his expectations were not fulfilled. So the last paragraph is very interesting. When he looked at his drawing, the voice of the professor, it squealed, as Thurber had fixed the lens so that it reflected his own eye, which he drew on the paper, and instead of drawing the uh, structure of a plant cell, he drew his own eye. So finally, he was unable to do what he was expected to do. Here we have a little explanation about the author. James Grover Thurber, he was an American cartoonist and author. He was also a humorist, journalist, playwright, and celebrated wit. He was best known for his cartoons and short stories. I have added a few pictures of his cartoons also over here, okay? He was very famous cartoonist also. And these all were published mainly in the New Yorker, and they were collected in his numerous books. He was born in 1894 in Columbus, Ohio States, United States, and he died in 1961 in New York, United States. Okay, you can see his picture. Okay, this is James Grover Thurber, the writer of this humorous essay, University Days. Now to talk about theme. University days are full of colors, they are full of energy, they are full of zeal and zest, they are full of friends, as you can see in the pictures also. Okay. The most obvious theme of this chapter is the university education. University education, it plays a major role in preparing youth for the life after university. It prepares them for practical life, laying the foundations by handing the explicit or practical knowledge. Okay, it gives us practical knowledge that is required in our practical life. But the student's own interest in the particular subject is more important too. Only then he puts much effort into his work, which is denied in our society by our elders, by our parents, and by our teachers. A student should be taught only the subjects of his own choice rather than imposing on them by their parents or teachers. Okay, University Days by James Thurber is a humorous story narrated by himself in first person, in which he tells the reader that he could not do well in botany class. He could never see the plant cell through a microscope, putting his teacher's patience to test. So he always put his teacher's patience to test and he was unable to perform well. Although the teacher explained to him many times patiently how anybody could see through a microscope, But the narrator replied that identifying the cells of flower takes away the beauty of flowers anyway, so that's why he was not interested. It clearly shows that he lacked interest in that subject. He tried to adjust his Eve many times to the microscope, sorry, his eyes many times, okay, not E's, okay, his eye, okay, he's tried to adjust his eye many times through the microscope but could see only a nebulous milky substance. Like he couldn't see the plant cell. He had to wait for a year because without passing one of the biological sciences, he could not graduate. So he had to stay. He had to wait for 1 year. The professor tried with every adjustment of the microscope, and finally the author could see variegated constellation of flecks, specks, and dots. In the end, after so many efforts, even the professor, he had fixed microscope for his student, for the writer James Thurber, but he couldn't see except for the display of specks, dots, and flecks. He hastily drew them. Who hastily? The writer. Okay, James Thurber. He drew them quickly on the paper, but when the instructor saw this, his professor saw this, he lost his temper instantly and he shouted that he had fixed the lens in such a way that it reflected his own eye and he drew it instead of the flower cell. Now, all these things, the theme, the main theme of this essay is all these things clearly indicate that the author is forced to read botany. He is not interested. That is why, in spite of his professor's best efforts and help, he is unable to see the plant cell through microscope. So students' interest, it plays a very important role. This is the main theme of this essay. If a student is not interested, no matter how hard work he puts in, how nice teachers he gets in his life, in his educational life, they are not going to help him. So students' interest must be given first priority by his parents, by his teachers, and by his elders, rather than imposing their own ideas upon the students. So this is the main theme of our essay University Days. Hopefully you would have understood and enjoyed the lesson. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good day.